So the final world rankings came out 2 days ago. Cole Hawker's in, so all that talk, what could he get in, not in, he was in. It never became close. But there was something interesting that happened, and I kind of just have an issue with it. So Nick Willis, I have an issue with it for not the reasons that you might think. So Nick Willis, at the last minute, was able to get the Music City Track Carnival, the level of that meet changed from an F rating to a C rating. And what that means is, it's like, what? So what that means is he ran 3:38 in the race and finished third. If it was an F rating, he would have gotten, like, I could do the quick math, he would have gotten 1,133 points for that performance. But because it got changed to a C rating, he then got 1,173 points. So he got an extra 40 points. And that extra 40 points basically changed his average of his best 5 performances enough to bump him to the 45th slot. He was like in the 47th or 48th, but that change made him become, instead of the 49th best ranked athlete, the 45th. And the fact that can happen, I think is stupid. Nick explained it on Twitter that this was all people went into the meet thinking it was going to be a C race, a C category race. The reason why it was F was because of paperwork, of delay. So it's not like he found a meet and quickly turned it into a C race. It was already going to be a C race. It just didn't become one until after the fact, which is fine, whatever. But just that fact that we're all of a sudden going to be like, I ran 3:38, and because they offered prize money, it's a little better than when you ran 3:38 over there where they didn't give prize money. And all this is like, it's just mind-boggling. Check this out.
But doesn't it go both ways?
No,
doesn't it go both ways though? Like
Nick Willis.
Go ahead.
Oh, I want to say, hold on. Nick Willis in January of 2020 got second at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, running 3:59 in a mile, 3:59.89, a time that 50 college kids at least break every year, and he got second in the race. He got 1,251 points for that. Cole Hawker, who just ran 3:35, beat the Olympic champion and won the Olympic trials in a race. For that performance, he got 1,271 points. The fact that they're that close, the fact that it's only 20 points better. I could pick his 350 mile. It's basically showing, like, why was a 3:59 mile at New Balance Grand Prix considered so amazing? It's because World Athletics said this meet has been anointed as holy, and therefore all marks, whether you're running, jumping, or throwing, that are done in this facility on this date are considered amazing. And it's bullshit, because the location and date and venue, all that stuff, means nothing about the legitimacy of a performance. What makes a performance legitimate is who's in the field, not the name of the meet. And that's what I don't like about these rankings. The rankings give no credence to who you beat. The only thing they care about is, or who you lose to, for that matter, the only thing they care about is the prestiginess of the meet. Now, I could argue, I could understand the prestiginess of Olympics and World Championships is understood. But this whole this whole A, B, C, D, E, F level of trying to kind of rate all these meets, you just can't do. You cannot say winning the South Korean 1500 is the same thing as winning the Olympic trials because they both happen to be national championships. It's just Not true. What they should do is they should look at who was in the final of the Korean National Championship, who was in the final of the US National Championship, and use the ratings of the athletes that were in that final and use, hey, you beat these 8 people. That is more impressive than beating these 8 people in this national championship. So therefore, you should get more credit. And they don't do that because it is a lot more complicated. They just have this idea that anointing a meet as great, therefore you're ranking. Now, this is all kind of not that big of a deal now. I'm going to end the rant here because, 70%,
in a nutshell,
70% of the people who are going to the Olympics got the standard, which is like the old system. And the final 30% that got in on world ranking, the amount of people that could have got in or not in is small, right? Of like, if it was time, maybe I would have got in instead of the world ranking guy. It's we're splitting hairs. But, I think World Athletics wants more people to get in on ranking. And I could see a situation where in 5 years, only 10% or 20% of the people who go to Worlds got in on having the world standard. And the other 80% was because of their World Athletics official world ranking. And that's scary because it means, hey, as long as you get to go to those A-level meets and run a 3:59 mile, you're good. Like, it shouldn't be that way. It should be about who you beat. Again, none of this rant has to say that Nick Willis doesn't deserve to be in the Olympics. He does. His explanation made sense. He's playing by the rules. I have no disappointment in that. I just think that moment kind of showed that it's all bullshit. That it's just like, hey, you signed up. You told World Athletics about your meet and you gave a certain amount of prize money. So therefore, winning that race is amazing. And it's just like, no, winning a race is amazing based on who you beat, not based off the name of the meet. And it's just, that's all I got to say about that. This has been the Gordon rant special. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Take it. Take 10 seconds and then go on about name, image, and likeness. Because
do you agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree with what I'm saying?
I think, Nick Willis and everybody else is playing by the rules that were set out. They didn't make the rules, and his job is to interpret them and give himself the best possible chance to qualify. Just as getting that meet upgraded or getting a lot of points from a 3:59 mile, I'm sure there's people ahead of him on the list that also benefited from some performances that weren't as good as people farther down on the list. So I don't think we could just cherry pick one or the other. I think if you are going to create a ranking system and have something that's time plus, the obvious thing is head-to-head. Who do you beat in these races? But then you have to figure out the value of each person that you beat, which is a bit of circular logic, because then how do you determine who's ranked high? Do you just use their PBs at that point and then don't worry about what other meets that they've run in? Because you could say, oh, he beat the Boston Indoor Games champion, but the Boston Indoor Games champion ran 3:59, and it's not as impressive as beating, Matthew Centrowitz, who might have been opening his season. So maybe you create just a point value bait. You just say, hey, this is going to be imperfect, but it's going to be better than the old system. If your PR is this is your point value. And when you beat a person like that, you get more points. And when you lose to people below you, right, then they are helped and they get bumped up. That seems to make the most sense, because when this thing was rolled out, people said, and I think they're correct, this is just going to be basically a competition of who has the best agent, who can get you into these meets and know how to work the system to get you in that right spot. And you're right, we didn't see it as much this year. But I mean, say they drop the women's 100 standard to 1095 or something in the future, right? Or 358 in the 1500, which there's no rule that says they can't do that. Then you're going to have a lot more people qualifying based on ranking. I was kind of fine with the old way, to be honest. Now that I'm sure back then I said they need to fix this, but now I guess Hawker wouldn't have gotten in, right? In the old way, so that would have been a mess. But it would have changed this whole season. The argument is
Hawker would have tried to got in. He would have done another last minute try to run sub 3:35.
Yeah,
and I think he would have gotten it based on the way he ran. I think if he got a time trial in May, he probably would have ran sub 3:35.
Or just let countries who have had, if they have as that many people have the standard, then they can send who they want. And the U.S. has come up with the trial system, so they basically can say, "Hey, we're subbing out Josh Thompson, who had the standard, for Cole Hawker," for example.